TCU 29, Baylor 28. How in the world did Sonny Dykes' team figure out a way to win this? But that's not the question a lot of you were asking heading into Saturday, was it? No, the familiar refrain later in the week last week, as this number ticked down from 3, it was 2.5. How? How can TCU only be a 2.5-point favorite? What had we just seen? We saw him go on the road and handle Texas in Austin, and we saw Baylor get smashed at home by Kansas State. And what did we learn? What did Meemaw tell you? Nothing about November has to make sense, and nothing about last week matters. This was the 1,000,001st example. It's happened a million times. This was just 1,000,001 of odds makers understanding what far too often the more casual general public in college football does not understand. Last week just doesn't matter. People get so caught up in the more merit-based thinking, the more merit-based concept, which is fine, that's what rankings are, of we got to go by what we just most recently saw. Meanwhile, odds makers, they've got a set of numbers that constitute a team, and then you just got one little result last week. That's not enough to move them off their opinion of a team. So Baylor, they've got Baylor a few points below TCU, power ratings-wise. TCU looks great. Baylor gets drug unmercifully. Odds makers aren't moving off that. More than maybe a point, 1.5, maybe 2 points. And so they threw the number out there. Because they know how this stuff works. They don't have to guess their way through this. And what's funny is the amnesia that sets in. It's permanent. It happens every time. Because there were a ton of folks on TCU yesterday, and you thought they were going down there and they were just going to roll Baylor, and that was not the case. But you know what they did do? They found a way to win. And if you watched this game, you saw them down 8, I think they were. And so they get it to within 2, and they go for the 2-point conversion, and it's late in the game, and they don't get it. And they get the ball back, they get in field goal range, and this sequence here, with no timeouts, can't spike it because it's 4th down. They're like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 seconds left, and they go true walk-off field goal. Now, this was the talk of college football yesterday. The final sequence of this game, you're watching it. If you're watching on YouTube, this is how it actually played out. And it looks like chaos, but very controlled chaos. Now, I think there may be a little bit of criticism to be given out, and the criticism is I don't think that's how they drew it up. And I'll tell you why, Colin, if you could roll that again, I don't know how many times we're going to loop it. So the one thing that you do notice is most of the time, when you're going to send a guy out to kick a field goal, game winning, or maybe in the second quarter, he's taking his usual 3 steps back, 2 steps over to the left to line himself up. And their kicker did not have the opportunity to do that. And so when you look at how rushed it was, I'm thinking to myself, no, although they executed it, I'm guessing that they don't want their kicker with their season on the line running out there without so much as the ability to do more than set himself. He didn't get a chance to properly set himself. He literally had a chance to stand still for a second so they could snap the ball. But they got it done. And it was very obvious they had worked on it before. Special teams work in practice is not something that a lot of your local beat writes about, even if they get to witness it. But, boy, did it matter there. That was pretty heart-stopping. Look at that TCU contingent back there in the end zone. That is at McLean Stadium. That's in Baylor. But they traveled down from Fort Worth. I've made that drive myself. Construction. But they're working on something pretty special in their own right. And there you go. By bubblegum, paperclip, hook or crook, they keep getting the job done. And I came into yesterday morning, and I tweeted out a clip that we had done on the show 48 hours earlier about how ridiculous I thought it was, and still do, that the whole talking point, the whole narrative, which is a word I hate, around this team is as long as they go undefeated, then blah, blah, blah. Because I know that wouldn't be the case if it were Oklahoma or Texas. So branding clearly matters here. And yet, we all know one thing. Regardless of how ridiculous that talk is, it is irrelevant as long as they do keep winning. And they kept winning yesterday. So now, what do we look at? You got a season finale against Iowa State, and then you got the Big 12 championship game. Looks like it's going to be Kansas State. I think that's the way that's working out. But TCU has afforded themselves the opportunity to actually traffic in one of the big lies. One of the big lies in college football is a win is a win. Because a win is not always a win. if you beat a team you're favored by 49 against by a field goal versus beating them by 49, those wins are not equal. They are in the NFL. They're not equal in college football because you get rated, you get ranked, you get judged in this sport by a committee. But TCU is at the point where it does not matter if they win by 1 point or a million because they have afforded themselves the luxury of having a win matter as long as it's a win. So they do get to temporarily tell one of the big three lies about their season because they have afforded themselves the opportunity to do that. TCU did need that now, obviously. Moving forward, though, with all the other moving chairs on the deck, what could happen? Because you know Tennessee is now a 2-loss team, so you've got separation. You have got USC, which is obviously going to vault up there, I would imagine, into the 5 spot, I think. Don't quote me on playoff projections, but you got Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan are about to play Saturday, and then there's TCU. I do not know, is what I'm saying, how the committee would compare a 1-loss TCU. See, here's the thing. The 1-loss TCU has could very well be in the conference championship game. But here's the other fun part. USC, like everyone is looking, now that they beat UCLA, they're looking towards the Pac-12 championship game because they locked up a spot in it. They got to play Notre Dame this week. The line on the game's like 5. Notre Dame's playing their best ball of the season, for what that's worth. What if USC loses another game? Then they go and win the Pac-12. So there are a lot of twists and turns still along the way. But TCU, man, congratulations. I was at a lobby bar in a Marriott in Los Angeles, and it struck me that the entire crowd there was glued to a TCU Baylor game on an afternoon where the casuals told you, oh, it's going to be a yawn. It's going to be a snoozer of a day. Nah, that lobby went crazy. Neutral fans, I mean, just fans that either don't know how to spell college football, they care about it so little, or maybe they're USC or UCLA. It was just a great finish, just a very, very climactic finish. So congratulations to Sonny Dykes and company. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Make sure you like the video and please subscribe to the channel. Not just for me, that's how we keep this entire thing free.